Hi everyone, it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Of course, we're joined by Chris Vernon, who's just joining us now. How are you, Chris?
Hi Norman, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yes, and we're already live.
Perfect, straight back into the swing of things.
No point mucking around. Thanks for joining us, Chris. I've just begun, just as you joined, I started. We're in, I believe it's episode 17.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, I can't remember. We need to get back on it.
The episode 17 is today. An Aussie and a POM talk all things India, all things cricket, all things World Cup, bit of IPL, could even talk about Ashes. England certainly are showing up to be quite an item here for the World Cup, aren't they? Especially with Butler scoring a century in his last match. Did you see that?
Yeah, I watched it all yesterday. Yeah, I mean, he just looks fantastic, doesn't he? And just an entirely different knock to the one he played against Australia, where he just sort of bullied it. You know, yesterday I think they were 45 for 3 off 10 overs. More importantly, I think for England was Owen Morgan scored some runs. You know, he's been a bit out of form, but yeah, they just look like a very well-oiled machine at the moment, don't they? Especially in conditions that you would say certainly wouldn't favour an English side. So yeah, they just sort of in all aspects they look very good.
And they just look balanced. And I mean, the buoyant news about Ben Stokes joining the Ashes, which will be very exciting later on in the year. All things look good in English cricket. Even Chris Jordan's doing well.
Into the second.
Sorry.
I'll do what? What was that?
That was just a thing on my phone. Yeah, no, he and Tyrone Mills has come in. You know, he's something different. He's very quick. I think in world cricket in the last 4 years, he's got the best economy rate in 2020 cricket in the last 4 overs of an innings. So, you know, he got a bit of tap against Australia. So hopefully the injury he got yesterday won't keep him out for too long. I think they've got a few days off. So let's just hope.
What was the injury? What was the injury exactly?
He pulled up running into bowl. It looked like a quad muscle, or it just looked like he pulled something. He sort of ran in and it, you know, didn't. And then just sort of limped off. So fingers crossed it's okay. But, you know, they've got Mark Wood to call on. If not, he's probably feels a bit hard done by not being in the side anyway. And I think he got 4 wickets in the game against New Zealand at the start in the warm-up. But, you know, this is an England side without Jofra Archer as well, without Ben Stokes. So they've got a couple of players missing. You know, Jofra Archer especially would be considered one of the best in the world, you know, bowling-wise. So just really pleased to see us doing well. And in probably the tougher group, you know, the Indian fans would probably argue, but the way that the qualification went, you know, Bangladesh were meant to be in the other group, whereas the two minnows have ended up in Group B. You know, Bangladesh should have finished top of that other group, but they finished second, so Scotland went into that group. So England's group, there are no minnows. They're all Test match nations. So to have had 4 games against 4 Test match sides and not really been tested, you know, yesterday was probably the toughest game that they've had, is just testament to how good they're playing at the moment.
Exactly. And I mean, look, alternatively, Pakistan are also doing something equally as damaging in their pool, in their group, because they've beaten all the top sides. They've only got minnows left. Maybe Afghanistan are probably a fight, but they're looking like being without a loss as well. We've been joined by Manas Darwan saying hi to us both. We've got Josh Adam there who's saying India have no chance to go through the semis. We'll talk about that later. But, yeah, beating Afghanistan will not going to be a cup of tea for India. No, that won't. In fact, if Afghanistan beat New Zealand, which is possible, Afghanistan could be the second semi-finalist.
Yeah, I said to a few people before the start of the tournament, I thought Pakistan were a massive dark horse. I remember saying it on our show before, and I think a few of the people watching said, no, Pakistan won't be anywhere near. And they've played, for the last 10 years, they've played all their cricket in Dubai. They've got some ridiculously good players. And, you know, I did say at the start, I think we had it before, you know, we said, who are your 4 semi-finalists would be? And I said, Pakistan will be there. And, you know, I think even yourself was dubious about that. But they just got such good. They've got players in form, and they're hitting their straps. They got a good win against India. Stuffing against India really, and I think they just adopt. It just looks like they adopt a sort of similar approach to England, really, sort of a no fear. Let's just go with it. You've got Afridi up top who just runs in and tries to bowl as quick as he can. A couple of good spinners, and then some batting who, heavily, probably more than most, heavily reliant on their top two. They're very heavily reliant on Bubba and Rizwan to score their runs. But
hang on a minute, Asif Ali got.
He's coming and finished off the innings well, but they're very reliant on those two setting the stall well, and when they have, they were probably fairly lucky to sneak past Afghanistan in the end. 25 of 2 overs, you'd say that they probably weren't favourites, but fair play to the Asif Ali who came in and whacked it. What a time to do it.
So at this stage, it looks pretty much that Pakistan will make top position of Group 2, and Group 1 will be England.
I think they've got a win today, haven't they, Pakistan?
Well, Pakistan is 6 for 46 at the moment against South. Pakistan is 6 for 46 against South Africa.
No, Bangladesh are.
So who were you saying?
I said Pakistan played today, don't they?
Oh yeah, that's right. Pakistan are playing Namibia. They'll probably smash them.
Yeah,
but and in this case, Bangladesh are getting beaten by South Africa. South Africa shocked me because Australia, albeit didn't play well, they still beat South Africa. They looked really woeful. And I thought South Africa weren't going to get through, but they're looking like they're in the good chance of making the semi, depending on how Australia go. But going back to England for a moment, what's impressed me the most with England, and for that matter, even Pakistan, is when they win emphatically. Yeah. England beat Australia by getting past 11.4 overs. It was only 120 on.
It's massive for the run rate, and including the Pakistan. Look at the group. If India, New Zealand want to top that group, they've got to turn out. The run rate is almost an extra point at the moment, plus 3.4. I think Pakistan's is. So, it's.
Who do you think's got the best net run rate out of all the 12 teams at the moment?
Will it be? I assume it's England or Pakistan.
No, it's Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, okay. Pakistan's is great, but Afghanistan, because they stuffed Scotland, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at, Afghanistan have surprised everybody, and they could well, as I said, if they beat New Zealand, which I'm not saying is a certainty by any means, but if they beat New Zealand, they could sneak in ahead of New Zealand into the semis. It's possible.
And to be honest, I think England will be top. England will top that group. Our group, so we'll be playing Afghanistan, New Zealand, or India. It's going to be one of those three. We'd probably rather play New Zealand over Afghanistan. I know that Afghanistan are. To be fair, I don't think England will worry either way. I think that Afghanistan have got a couple of good spinners, and it depends on what ground you play them on. I don't think their batting will worry us too much. But you'd rather play New Zealand in these conditions. Afghanistan are a force to reckon with. In Majib and Rashid Khan, they've probably got 2 of the best spinners going around in the business at the moment. So,
absolutely. And the only thing that worries me about England, and for that matter Pakistan, is they've had an incredible group stage, both of them. But you can come unstuck in one game, can't you?
Of course, yeah.
And that could be a semi-final.
It's 2020 cricket. It's a high variance game. Some of these grounds, the tosses. I think England will be happy yesterday, showing that you can win. Sri Lanka probably surprised England yesterday. I think they played very well, considering that they've been very poor in one-day cricket over the last sort of 12 months. They've not had good results or good sides. So I think that was a good run out for England, and to prove to people that you can win the toss, you can lose the toss and bat first to win the game. So, I think that it's a high variance game in 2020 cricket, and that's why it's so good. Afghanistan's can. There can be upsets. Scotland can beat Bangladesh, and that's it all comes down to on the day, and that's why it's so good. That the semis aren't going to be a walk in the park for anyone. Even your Australias, just Africa's, if they can sneak into that semi-final, a one-off game, they can beat anyone for sure.
That's true. It makes it very interesting. One thing for sure, West Indies are certainly playing badly.
But they're going to. I still think that the West Indies will absolutely annihilate someone in this tournament. That batting lineup is good enough to just take anyone apart. Thankfully, it wasn't England. It might be Australia. I don't think they played the West Indies yet. Have Australia played the West Indies?
No,
Yet?
that's a game they haven't played.
And it's the sort of bowling attack that the West Indians will like. A bit more pace on the ball. Not the spinning is Azampa's good, but he's no Rashid or Moeen Ali, so a bit more pace on the ball. It might be that Chris Gale and co might fancy the Aussies to get a win on the board.
Yeah, it's interesting. The fact is, look, unless something dramatic happens, we know England and Pakistan are through. The disappointment is India at this stage. Even if they win their last 3 matches against Afghanistan, Namibia, and Scotland, are fairly unlikely to go through. Only possibility is if New Zealand get knocked off by someone, namely Afghanistan, then they've got a chance. But it also puts Afghanistan in the same mix. So
I think that India, it's difficult. I look at the side they picked, and I think for a World Cup you have 2 ways to go about picking a side. You either go for experience, or you go for form. And I just felt at the moment that, given that the World Cup was in Dubai, where the second half of the IPL was, I think they picked their squad too early. I'd have picked it really late. Why is Bhuvi Kumar there? Why isn't Avesh Khan there? Why isn't Harshal Patel there? Your batting lineup, you've gone in with Sky, Yadav, and Ishan Kishan. Great players. Didn't have the greatest of IPLs. Kishan hit 250s in the last 2 games, but didn't score a bean apart from that. Sky, Yadav had a very disappointing IPL. Where's Padikkal? Where's Gaikwad? Where are these guys that on those pitches whacked the same bowlers the whole time? And I mean, it's difficult. Don't get me wrong. And I know that India stick with who they know and what they want to go with. But you just would like to have seen these guys there, because form and confidence is huge.
So Samant Shastri saying he wanted Harshal Patel and Avesh Khan. They also played well in the IPL. But yeah, you're right. Look, Gaikwad, Padikkal, even Shreyas Iyer, was it Shreyas Iyer who did very well? There's a whole host of them. It's quite look, let's not start at Pakistan, not Pakistan, sorry, South Africa. They should have to Plessis there.
Yep.
And Imran Tahir as well. But a couple of players they didn't select, which were quite bewildering. I still can't get over the fact that Chris Lynn's not getting a Guernsey somewhere in the Australian squad. He just seems to be left out every single time.
Where's Jai Richardson and Riley Meredith?
Well, Riley, there.
These guys are big IPL pickups. They're leading. Jai Richardson was the leading wicket taker in the Big Bash, wasn't he, last year? Like, where's he? I'm assuming he's injured or he's not fit.
I don't really know where he is. I don't believe he's injured. Oh, sorry, he was injured. Because
he'd been
there. He's injury prone. But look, they Australia don't like India. They stick to some of their old guns as well. They've got Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins still there. And I'm not saying any of them are not good enough, but you would argue that they've got nothing more. Australia's got nothing more in the bowling line. They've only got Sean Abbott back in New South Wales, but they've lost Pattinson, so they've got very little there. So they're equally as. I'm afraid.
Rohit Sharma as well on the Indian side. 2020 wise, I've said before, I've defended KL Rahul's corner a million times. He's way better. He's a far superior player to Rohit. And when was the last time Rohit had a really good IPL or 2020 games for India? One day cricket, absolutely, and Test cricket, he's proving himself now. But where's Agarwal? These guys absolutely churn runs out in the IPL for fun on the same wickets. Like, surely Gaikwad and these guys have played, but Bhuvi Kumar. I get why he's there, but surely there are better options. Pick young guys that literally want to. Bhuvi Kumar's coming to the end line. I just didn't get it, and I know why. But I would have maybe got the form aspect in this World Cup, considering it's the same pitches. Hence why England have gone. Maybe gone with Tyler Mills. They've got Mark Wood sat there, who's been in and out consistently, bowled very well for England for a long time. They've just gone with a guy that in form is bowling very well, and England are going well.
Now, this is a comment that your dad's just put up. Morgan became the most successful captain in T20 cricket history yesterday. Okay, what in terms of number of wins? That's interesting. Old Morgan's been a revelation, hasn't he? I mean, we mustn't forget that his team did make the IPL final, didn't they? So he's got some credit, I'll tell you. He seems to get this team motivated. And look, you'd have to think at the moment England and certainly Pakistan are the favourites.
Mm-hmm.
India, have India got any hope at all of making the semis? Is my question.
They have, because ultimately they've got the 3 easiest games in that group now. If they can get the 6 points, which they should do, 3 wins. I know Afghanistan will be tough, but they should beat Afghanistan. Let's be realistic. The good thing for them is that I think 6 points will get them through. And they're going to have Namibia and Scotland last, knowing that if they beat both and stuff both, their net run rate will be really, really high. And that's an extra point in reality, isn't it? So if New Zealand and Afghanistan have close games, that net run rate is an extra point. And so if India can go out and hammer Scotland and Namibia, then you never know. And they've got to look at it like that. And then you wouldn't ever back against India if they got to a semi-final. I'd certainly rather India didn't get to the semi, because we'll probably be playing them, because Pakistan are going to top that group. So we're not going to. England won't fear anyone, but I think that India have got a chance for sure. I think that if they just have to go out and be really positive and just try and really stuff the last 2 games and beat Afghanistan, and you never know.
Now, let's imagine the unthinkable. Afghanistan beats New Zealand and then goes on to beat India. They could actually make the semi-final.
Well, I think they've only got to beat one of them. They'll go to 6 points, and I think they've still got to play one of the minnows, haven't they? I think they've played 2 games, haven't they?
No. They've had 3 matches. They've got 2 left, and it's against New Zealand and India.
Oh, is it? Okay, so they've
had 2 wins.
Pakistan,
they've beaten Scotland, and they've beaten Namibia. And they had the loss.
I wouldn't be backing against them to win one of them. New Zealand are a side that are a very good side, but in these conditions, you certainly wouldn't. And that's why I was amazed that, they absolutely hammered India. I don't know how much the toss had in that game, but, regardless of the toss, 110, England batted first yesterday, got 160 against, probably in those conditions, Sri Lanka and New Zealand have got pretty similar bowling attacks. You wouldn't say that New Zealand's bowling attack in those conditions are miles clear of New Zealand. So I think it just shows that you can do it when, depending on the players in form. And so India would just be disappointed. I think if they got 130, 140 in that game, they would probably won. And that's
well, India have got 3 games left and they haven't won a match, so they have to win all 3 matches.
Yeah, they're gonna have to win all 3
to have any hope. And Afghanistan really only need to win 1 more match to have a chance, as opposed to New Zealand, who need to win at least 2 of their last 3 matches. Now, that's where it gets really interesting. Afghanistan only has to win 1 match to put themselves in a position to have a chance.
Especially as if they make sure that they don't get stuffed, because their net run rate is so good that it does count as an extra point. You'd say that Pakistan have got to play one of the minnows, haven't they? I think they haven't played Scotland. I don't think. Oh, they're playing.
You'd have to say Sri Lanka's out. Sri Lanka's gone, because Sri Lanka's only got 1 match left, and if they win that, they're on 4 points. And that won't be enough.
No.
West Indies have got 2 matches left, and the most they can get is 6 points. And then you've got South Africa.
I think they've got to play the West Indies and Australia, haven't they? The West Indies. They've got to play the Sri Lanka and Australia.
Yeah.
So England have definitely qualified. Well, that's 100%. They're definitely through.
Yeah, they're in. They're 2 points ahead. They're being get close to them. Yeah. They're actually 4 points ahead. So yeah, it's England and Pakistan certainties, I believe. Afghanistan and New Zealand, and maybe India are playing off for second in the group too. South Africa versus Australia are really the only 2 that can win group 1. Maybe West Indies, but very unlikely. So very interesting, very, very interesting scenario here. I don't think South Africa deserve to go through, to be honest, even though they've got Bangladesh on the ropes at the moment. because they were beaten by.
The problem is, who in that group would you say deserves to go through? You know, there's no one really. They've
only
taken
England at this point.
Who's played well? Yeah. Sri Lanka, but they've only won one game. You know, it's easy to say no one deserves to go through, but South Africa are going to have 6 points. They're going to have won 3 out of 4.
Well, Sri Lanka could have beaten South Africa. They should have beaten South Africa.
Yeah,
they had them on the ropes. They lost to them. Had they won that match, that may have been very interesting. That would have meant, though, if Sri Lanka had won that match, they would have been current. They would have 4 points, and South Africa 2, and have no chance. And that would have put Sri Lanka in the same boat as Australia. Yeah, it's interesting. It's okay. What about Warner's form? Warner scored the 160. The rest of them, he hasn't got in double figures on any of his innings.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a bit out of form for a while, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And apparently Sri Lanka, I didn't see it, but just bowled very short to him, so he just kept whacking it. But, you know, the Australians have got their side just looks a little bit, you know, I don't take Finch out. I don't see any real, you know, Matt Wade batting at 6, I think Ashton Agar and Pat Cummins at 7 and 8 in the 2020. You know, compare that to England. You know, you've got Moeen Ali, Noah Morgan coming in those slots. Like it's crazy, really. I don't know. Australia is just clearly going through a transition period at the moment in their white ball stuff, and you know what? Just really excited for the Ashes. Really, you know, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a series probably dominated by 2 poor batting lineups and 2 pretty decent bowling units. So it will just be which batting unit can come into form at the right time. And, you know, Ben Stokes is going to just balance that side out for England perfectly. You know, we were thinking, you know, in the summer they have to play an extra seamer, no spinner, whereas now him coming into bat 5, you can pick a spinner. And, you know, the bowling attack, you know, Jofra Archer's injured, which is a shame, but Anderson, Stokes, Mark Wood, and there was another, and Ollie Robinson, plus a spinner. You know, you could put Jack Leach in there as well. That's a pretty decent bowling attack. You know, I think Ollie Robinson, he's tall. He hits the deck. You know, I think he could.
Because Chris Woakes in the squad.
He'll be in the squad. I don't think he gets in. You know, and Stuart Ward will be in the squad too. But Stokes just balances that side out perfectly because it allows us to play a spinner as well as strengthening the batting as well. So I think Ollie Robinson could be a real find in Australia. You know, I think in the summer he took his wickets, not many balls hit the stumps. And in Australia, you know, you're bowling your hard length to nick people off. And I think that he could be a real find in Australia with Mark Wood bowling quickly as well, hopefully.
And look, I know we haven't seen the best of Zach Crawley or even Darwin Milan of late, but those 2 could be really, they both would be right for Australian conditions. So that's going to be interesting, I think.
Darwin Milan for sure. Zach Crawley definitely. He just needs to find his feet a bit, and you know it's not going to get easier. You know, the one thing that Australia do have is a very good bowling attack. You know, Hazelwood, Cummings, and I guess Stark. You know, it's going to be quick. It's going to be bouncy. So, just looking forward to it, really.
All right, take a step back. We didn't have a good chat about the IPL before that, and obviously going back to that, obviously CSK won, which was a team that you thought would not do well. I remember, was that right? At the beginning, you didn't think CSK.
I'll hold my hands up. I got it completely wrong. I think I said they finished in the bottom 2 in the group stage, but they just had good form. You know, not Paddock, Gaikwad and Duplessis were, I think, the leading 2 run scorers in the tournament pretty much, and it's amazing what happens when your batting is setting you bases, confidence wise and run. I just thought they were a very old team. You know, they are certainly getting on a bit, and they just had their batting, especially the top 2, came into form. And on these pitches where 130, 140 is a good score, if you're 50 for naught every week, you're not going to lose many games.
That's true. So okay, all right. So with the onset of 2 new teams, as in Ahmedabad and what was the other side? The other side was Ahmedabad, and I've had a mental block here, and oh Jesus, Lucknow. They're the 2. So Lucknow and Ahmedabad, they'll go into a very fiercely fought IPL auction. There'll be the ability to retain players, but then those 2 teams get the ability separately to retain or gain players first as well. So first of all, there are players to be retained, and then those two new teams get to pick players before the full auction takes place. But I think that's going to be interesting. How much money do they spend for luck now? $1 billion Australian.
Really? I haven't followed. I know that each side can retain 4 players. Is that right? We should go through each side. It'd be interesting to see who retains, who gets
We'll do
retained.
that.
Yeah.
Not today. I won't do that in full, but we'll go through that. But what I'm getting at is Lucknow spent about $1 billion Australian dollars for theirs. The franchises are picking it up, and the other was about 700,000 or something.
Wow.
700 million. It was just amazing figures. When you think they originally the biggest teams, which was a shock back at the beginning of the IPL, went for about 100 million. Now they're going for 1,000 million. It's an amazing investment, isn't it?
No, it's money's crazy, and you just hope that they don't ruin it. You just hope that the IPL is already quite flashy and quite not gimmicky. That's the wrong word. I love the IPL. Don't get me wrong, but it's already any more. You get more teams and more fancy stuff than you just think it might go over the top. But I'm just seeing RCB will retain Maxwell, Kohli, AB de Villiers, and Chalal. Don't think they'll retain Siraj or Padikal. The young Indian guys. What you might find is that there would be an unwritten agreement probably between the current that if RCB don't retain Siraj, other sides might not. They might let them buy him back. You'll probably find that a lot of these players will want to stay with their franchises, and they probably will end up there anyway. So you'll just have to wait and see. But no, the auction, I think it should be like that all the time, to be honest. It makes it more interesting for sure.
So, okay. IPL is a hell of a big discussion. We know that there are 2 new teams. The biggest frustration for me is the number of games that we played. That means additional games to what they played in this current IPL format. I think I've heard figures of 74, 84, I'm not sure, even 94. Whatever it is, it's going to be substantially more games, and they're going to be encroaching on a third month of the IPL, which is quite worrying. I think they can't make it, as you said, I don't think they can make it too much bigger. And you don't want to ruin the brand by adding more teams in and taking away from the impact of the games. So that's going to be interesting. But what was learned from the IPL is certainly on these wickets is to win the toss and bowl first. That was certainly something that was, and the wickets are low and slow. But really, I don't profess the low and slow stuff, because you see blokes like Asif Ali and a number of other, even the Pack and Butler hit the ball out of the ground with great ease. Okay, so you can't say it's difficult to do that because players are actually doing it.
Yeah, I think look at the base that they set. Butler, it was Butler's slowest ever 2020-50. 45 balls. He then just whacked it. So I think on these wickets, and it showed yesterday that if you can set a base and not lose, look at Australia, look at India, 60, 70 to 6 or 7, that's game over. Whereas England lost a couple of early wickets. Morgan then came in and Butler, and they literally just ground it to a halt and they ticked it over. If Morgan and Butler get out and it's 50 for 5, game over. But they were 3 down and they just rebuilt. They got in, and then they went from there.
So, when you saw England beat Australia a few days ago, Australia lost a lot of wickets early. Again, Warner failed. They dropped Mitchell Marsh, which is intriguing, isn't it? They seem to lay a lot of importance on him coming into the tournament as being the go-to first dropper, yet he's not in the squad now. He's not in the team now. Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the Australian side, but you see Matty Wade coming in at 5, and you think, he's not going to, look at our number 5, Liam Livingstone or Johnny Bairstow, Owen Morgan, Mo and Ali. You're not worrying many teams. I don't think Matty Wade isn't. So, Maxwell had a great IPL, and that's been disappointing so far. But yeah, no, that they would be disappointed that their top 3 or 4, Maxwell, Finch, Warner haven't stepped up a bit more.
Yeah, certainly. And I've been impressed with Liam Livingstone, even in his minor part that he's played. I'm impressed with Owen Morgan's batting, obviously Butler. Roy hasn't quite clicked yet, but I think he looks good though. And obviously Bairstow's there too. So that's a pretty good side. I'm, except for Pakistan's brilliance, which is certainly coming through, England have to be favourites.
Yeah, I think that those two would be tipped for the final at the moment, given how the tournament's progressed so far, wouldn't they?
I'm just looking at again the position of India. Okay, India have lost 2 matches. They've got to win 3. Their run rate's minus 1.6. They really are in a bad spot. Scotland's gone, we know. Namibia probably is gone as well. So really, it's an Afghanistan, New Zealand, India final. Sorry, so battle, I should say. And really, I can't see unless if New Zealand do not lose these matches they've got left, as is the case with India. New Zealand will always be in front of India.
Yeah.
Only cat amongst the pigeons is Afghanistan. But let's just hypothesize. If India or New Zealand, or for that matter, even Afghanistan, get through the semi-final, can one of those 3 teams win the competition?
Yeah, of course. It's 2020 cricket. Anyone can beat anyone. Afghanistan nearly beat Pakistan the other day. If it wasn't for the brilliance of Asif Ali, they probably would have done. Yeah, of course. New Zealand have got a lot of IPL players. They've got some good players. You would say that they still probably wouldn't. If you played a best of 5, you would say that they wouldn't. But in a one-off game, they've got equally good enough players to be able to do that for sure.
All right. So the game that's happening now, as I said, oh my God, Bangladesh are 8 for 77 after 17 points over. You would think that South Africa should get that. If South Africa are any hope of making it through, they need to knock this score off in the 8, 9, 10 overs.
Yeah, definitely. And they will. Yeah, they'll get to 6 points, South Africa, won't they? I'm just looking at it now, the table. They go to 6 points. Their run rate is a lot better than Australia's as well. Yeah. So as long as they don't get stuffed by England, the Aussies have got to play. You'd think the Aussies will get to 6. Who have the Australians got to play left? West Indies and Sri Lanka.
It's only a matter of the game between Australia and West Indies will be important for Australia more than anyone else.
Yeah.
All right. So today's game between, I don't think we even need to really discuss in terms of who's going to win, but Pakistan versus Namibia. Pakistan needs to really hurt Namibia.
Yeah.
I think they need to really crush them. They need to be continuing to improve. Pakistan has to keep going further and further into the tournament with improvements because they're not going to get much of a test in the next couple of games.
I think it depends. It'd be interesting if they rest a couple of their bowlers. England, they were talked about at the toss yesterday. Owen Morgan sort of said, are you going to rest someone? He said, no, we're just going to keep going with our best side and go from there. And I think that's the way that you should go. That's the way I would be. I think it's important to just play your best side. It's 2020 cricket. These guys are very fit. You should be able to pull up. Okay. It's obviously, hopefully, we're not sweating on time and mills, but I'll just be playing your strongest side the whole way through.
I'll say it again, and always will say this. You don't need to rest players in an IPL tournament. I don't think you do. You don't play enough games to warrant it. And to me, it's an incredibly favourable competition for England and favourable for Pakistan because both those teams actually like these conditions. They like them a lot. What's disappointed you about West Indies the most so far?
I don't know. They're just such an old side, aren't they? I don't know why. Ryan hasn't been playing. I didn't even realise in the squad, but they've literally picked everyone else. Lendl Simmons and Ravi Rampal. Where the hell have they plucked him from? Ravi Rampal. He's been.
Oh, that was a shock. That was a complete shock to me, man. They could have had a number of bowlers that were ahead of him, and I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. I just don't know what. Actually, I sympathise with the West Indian selectors. How do you select between so many virtual countries? It must be really hard there's so many places where players play that it's very hard to keep tabs on them all and how they're going. They're spread all over the joint. they have their own domestic priorities, which sometimes clash with the national duties. And the political movements within the groups. Antigua is very separate to Barbados, very separate to Jamaica. They're very. So when it comes to who's on the board and who listens to who and who gets selected, it's a dog's breakfast. It's not like the days when Clive Lloyd ruled the roost and picked the best side, and they were there for 10 years. It's just gone that time. It's so sad because, I mean, even Darren Sammy, I'm sure he's not up to playing. He's someone who, they didn't get the best out of in the end. They could have got a lot more out of him. And Holder's come back recently. I feel sorry for them. I really do.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? They've either got this is probably their last time that you're going to see Gale and, Russell, Pollard. They're all in their 30s. It must be the oldest side, one of the oldest international sides ever fielded, some of the teams they put out this week. So,
and don't forget to include Bravo there as well.
Yeah, Bravo. Lendl Simmons is 38 or something.
Lendl Simmons was batting like he was playing for a draw.
Yeah.
Like he was watching Chris Tavares tapes or Jeff Bury Boycott tapes. We went out of the bat. He was dropped, as you probably heard.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
Okay. So what's your predictions for the semis?
I think it will be England, New Zealand, and Pakistan, South Africa.
South Africa, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And you would think that England will play Pakistan out of that?
On form, yeah, that you'd be surprised if that isn't how it ends up. But it's a funny game, isn't it?
Are you a bit concerned about playing Pakistan in the final?
No, I think that I don't think I'm worried. I think that they're a very good side. But if England play well, if you win the toss, these things can impact. I think England are a better side than Pakistan for sure. But I don't think. Let's face it, and it's the same with the Australians, same with anyone, same with the Indians. If you're in a World Cup final, you win or you lose, but it's still great to get to a final, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with India, certainly, and I'm disappointed with the West Indies. I would like to have seen them in the mix. I don't really think, even to this day, even though they've done okay, I don't think South Africa deserve to be where they are.
They've got a very good bowling attack.
Yeah, that's their status.
Shamsi, Rabada, Norkia. They've got guys that can win a game, and I think they're the only side ever not to win a major competition. And New Zealand have now added the World Test Championship in, and the South Africans have never got it. So I wouldn't. Yeah, I think that there's obviously politically some big problems in that country, but I wouldn't begrudge seeing South Africa in the semi-final.
But you wouldn't have, after the first game when Australia beat them, albeit not convincingly, you would have given South Africa no hope.
No, they've not got a great side. They've just won a couple of close games, haven't they, since? So that's all you can do.
Yeah, it's a very frustrating situation. So what's your plans? You're going to Scotland, did you say?
In Scotland? No,
No, where are you going? Are you going somewhere after this?
No, I've got to go and change my tyres. I'm going to Liverpool. So I'm going to Liverpool. For the people watching tomorrow, I'm going to the Champions League game at Anfield against Atletico Madrid. So I'm very excited.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
What were the tickets for that?
Well, my dad's listening at the moment, so I won't say anything too much. But I think they're. I think they were over about £100. So.
Oh, well, that's worth going. I mean, I expected you to say more, actually.
I paid $600. But let's just leave it at that.
Okay, I paid over $600 US a ticket to get to watch an actual baseball game there.
Yeah.
I went there, but then I guess you're not only there once.
Absolutely, no, of course, yeah.
Why would you want to be what your dad thinks? It's your.
No, I was only joking. I just know that he'll go. You know what he's like.
Yeah, he's too busy gallivanting around Spain and Greece these days, isn't he?
Yeah, Lanzarote, I think he was at, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I'm still, now that as of yesterday, I can travel out of Australia freely anywhere.
Yeah.
Go to a place like Dubai without quarantine and return to Australia without quarantine, as long as the walls don't fall in. That means I can go to Dubai. And nice. I've spoken to Bashas and I'm planning it. I haven't booked it yet. I'm going to make a decision. I'm not sure if India don't make the final. I may not go because that's my only concern. I would like to have had them play. To me, imagine if India played Pakistan, or for that matter, something like that happened. I mean, look, Pakistan versus England would be still a pretty big game. That'd be massive as a final, especially. But yeah, it's just whether that's worthy of me. Because I'm also going to Shripali's. She's got a fitness center opening up in December in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
Have you got any plans coming to Australia?
Not at the moment. No, I can't say that I do. But
So
I think
the Ashes is gone. You're not going to the Ashes.
I won't make it unless Norman Kochnak travel is going to open up and put me up for a couple of weeks. But
well, accommodation wouldn't be your issue. It's a matter whether you get a visa to come.
Yeah.
Because at the moment you've got to have. They're not allowing anyone coming in here just to come and watch the game of cricket.
Yeah, no, I won't be. Unfortunately, I won't be heading that way this year. Maybe next year, maybe next time. Who knows? But yeah, not this time.
Well, there's a World Cup going on this time next year in Australia.
Maybe that's the aim.
Now. And I'll be back there in England on 23 for the Ashes series. We're going to go there.
You having another Sydney cricket?
Yeah. They'll be going again for sure. They're definitely going to be going. I'll be on that one. And I'll be free and easy by that stage. It'll be good. Now, there's been a lot of comments made. I've noticed a lot of damning comments about England. Sorry, not England, but about India, and a lot of the whole social media thing. The fact that they had a good go at Sharmi about his religion apparently is pretty disgusting. But India have to have thicker skin.
Yeah. I guess it's just the way that it's professional sport, isn't it? And it's certainly not right, but it's I don't think you can ever stop it unless something drastic happens. All I would say that as an English fan, there's obviously England doing very well is a great thing, but seeing absolutely stuffing the Australians and seeing India lose badly, it's quite a nice time to be an Englishman at the moment. I won't lie. Like I love the Indian cricketers and I love the IPL, but seeing them get stuffed is certainly same as they love seeing England get stuffed, same as the Australians like seeing us get stuffed. It's a good time to be an English cricket fan.
Yeah, I was a bit cringeworthy when I saw Australia getting smashed by England. That was pretty hard to take.
I'll get used to it. It might be a whole winter of it.
Ooh. But
I don't see it, but you never know.
Well, look, with the fact you've got Ben Stokes in there now, your chances have just risen several stocks higher. It's a bit like good old, what's his name? Who's the soccer player who Cristiano Ronaldo starts moving those Coke bottles? Remember that?
Yeah. I do remember that.
The shares of Coca-Cola went down 5 billion. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was back in the Euros, wasn't it? It was in the summer, wasn't it? Yeah, I do remember it,
yeah. And then Warner tried to do something in a recent clip. It was a bit of a joke. All right, you'll notice as an audience, I've got a lot more gear, by the way. So I've got a whole range of shirts. I've got now everything from small women 6'8", 10 through to men's, everything from medium right through to 5XL, every level.
Nice.
So that's just gone on. Okay, back to the games. So this is our episode 17. We're talking about an Aussie and a POM, talking all things cricket, all things India. India at this stage, unless a miracle happens, are likely to miss out on the semi-finals. Pakistan will certainly be going through. England will certainly be going through. The other side, which is probably more difficult to pick, whether it'll be Australia or South Africa, they look like the only two that possibly could go through, with Smokies in both groups, from even the West Indies and Afghanistan. If everything goes their way, they may have an outside chance.
Yeah.
But yes. Can you imagine if there's comments here to say, well, first of all, India beat Namibia. They're going to beat it. They're going to beat India. Namibia for sure. And Aditya Rice talking about Afghanistan there. Really, it would be a boil over of the century. Afghanistan make the semi-finals.
Yeah.
And even more so if they win the semi-final and go through the final, it'll be some sort of miracle. It's just a pity that we're not playing in Test cricket. That match is not on anymore. And
look, I know because of the women's, wasn't it? They boycotted it because of the women's. Is that right?
Yeah. But you know what? Honestly, we should still play it. the men who are playing that team deserve to represent their country and deserve to have that. They've reached ICC test status. I know the political side's pretty poor, but even if they've not acknowledged the women, I still think we should play it, to be honest with you. I really would. I don't know about you. I mean, I had a discussion with I think it was your father and a few others about that whole. There's two things I'm getting annoyed about. First and foremost is about the concerns about Afghanistan, their leadership affecting the cricket team. We need to separate the two. We need to give Afghanistan as a team the chance to play, despite having a Taliban leadership. And the other is this going on one knee and this whole Quinton de Kock saga. Whether you believe you should do it or not, really, to do it publicly on a cricket field is gaining what, Chris? Are we gaining people to support it? I don't think it has any effect at all.
Yeah, I think the Quinton de Kock thing was interesting because on the face of it, you think, well, he's an idiot. What's he doing? But then, he released that statement that said, my mum's black. My family are, I come from a mixed race family, and it was more the fact that he was told he had to do it rather than saying we would like to do it. And it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think it's just the way that it is at the moment. And I guess if there is if doing it does help in any way possible, then I guess it's a good thing, right? That's the way it.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is it should still be the right for a person choosing to do it or not. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
And it's not a matter of me not supporting it or supporting it. It's not about that. Really, it should be. It's a bit like Jarvo coming onto the New Zealand rugby team again. We're giving certain people airtime, haven't we? It's annoying me. It really does. And the whole thing with the knees, I don't care if I saw it or not. I'm not watching for that. And I don't. How will it help? What is where does it help by people going down the knee? What does it help?
Well, it's raising awareness. I guess if it's a kid saying to his dad, what they're doing, and he says, well, this is what they're doing it for, then if it does raise awareness, even a small amount, then it has to be. I guess it's a good thing, right? But I don't disagree with you.
Yeah. Okay. You has beautiful drawings of saying you look like Jason Roy.
Me? Well, he's a good-looking fellow as well, isn't he? What do you mean you know?
But what they didn't say was you play like Jason.
I don't play like Jason Roy, that's for sure. I wish I did.
Harsh Gupta said that Jason Roy is like an onion. Well, because he gets very red in the face, maybe. That's probably what it is. So, okay. Are you unhappy with the England squad that's come over to Australia? Are there any other players that would you like to have seen or not?
No, I think it's probably as good as it. I'm glad Milan's there. Shane March is not there. But I think apart from that...
Who?
Jofra. Shane March is not there.
Yeah.
But nothing you can do about that. So no, I think it's as good a squad as we've got in Test cricket. I maybe like to see folks in there, but
Ben Folks, yeah.
Yeah, but that's just the way it is. So.
He's playing for the England A side, isn't he?
Yeah, he'll be in the Lions squad. Yeah.
So why wouldn't he have been in the squad? I don't get that.
They'll have Bairstow and Butler that I imagine keeping wicket.
Yeah, I guess that's the reason. Ben said, boy, your dad is saying that England predicts, and Norman predicts us to 7-0. How can I predict 7-0 when there are 7 games? That's the Adam Hollyoak joke. It doesn't really work, but Ben said, well, England will lose badly in the Ashes. Oh, Harsh Gupta's being very nasty to you. Why does he say that? I wonder. Well, Bangladesh, after 18.2 overs, we're all out for 84.
Yeah, it's not ideal for them, is it?
No. I'm afraid the next game between Namibia and Pakistan could be an almighty slaughter as well. It could be an awful slaughter. Really quite... although Namibia haven't played that badly, I'd say that they've played better than some of the other minnow sides that have been involved. But, yeah, Pakistan should be in a mood, a real mood, to truly take them apart.
Yeah, you think so?
Okay, so listening to the press at the moment and the talk about the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another World Cup in 12 months' time. How will that affect things? is that too soon? I know we've delayed this because of COVID. I get that. But should they have delayed the next one as well? Or they want to, I know they want to keep the timings as it was, but is it too short to be playing two IPLs in the same format within 12 months' time?
Well, I don't know. I think it's just get it back on track, really. But either way, I don't think it matters too much.
Oh, I mean, I think it's too much. I think it's way too much. It'll probably, for the rare time of favour Australia. So Gurkha Gill's coming. Okay, wants to join. Anyone want him to join?
No. I've probably got to go in 10, 15 minutes if that's all right. I've got
Okay,
to
well, just hang on for
Yeah, I
this
like
little
to.
bit.
I follow him on Twitter, Gil. So.
Oh, Gurkha Gill is. Let me have a look where he is.
I just wanted to say, and I don't think anyone will be listening. There was a sad death last night of one of my first school cricket coaches. Would have played for England, Alan Eggleston. You probably remember Iggy. But he played 7 or 8 games for England. But he was one of my first cricket coaches who was at my school. And just wanted to say that very sad to lose such a fantastic character. Got some good memories of Iggy. But yeah, never nice, is it? So the cricketing world has lost another gent.
Oh, that was very sad to see. I saw your Twitter account record on that, and I also, it's been a terrible week in Australia with the loss of Peter Philbott that I have actually interviewed on my other channel, and I'm going to reproduce that episode. How are you, Gil?
Good. Been a long time since I was here on your channel. I had a little time, and I thought, I got a notification popped up that Norman Kosnick is live now. So I thought, okay, I'll try and see if I can join, even though I'm traveling. But yeah, been quite hectic and busy. But yeah, overall all good.
Good.
So I was just talking about. Well, Chris mentioned. Tell me more about your relationship with that with the man that's departed.
Oh, Iggy, Alan Eggleston. Yeah, he was when I joined secondary school. He was the cricket head of cricket there. So just he had I think he had a brain tumor and hasn't been well, but never nice to see. I think he played 8 games for England, but he was a larger than life character, and just wanted to say that we sorely missed.
So he was in the Test. He plays 8 matches in Test, correct?
I think on his debut in the 1989 Ashes, he got Steve Waugh and Mark Taylor out. Maybe I think that was his debut. So right. Certainly would have played. Would have done well. Big tall, 6'8", big opening bowler. So, but yeah, it's.
I remember him.
So what's going on in India then, Gil? What's happening? The tournament favourites. What's happening there?
Yeah, a lot of overreaction is happening at this point of time. It's which is what follows when there's a defeat. Within a space of 1 week or 2 games, I'd say, people are calling for heads of each and every one. It's almost like that 11 players who played or the 15 that have been selected are not fit enough to play for the country. So it's a lot of overreaction. But my assessment is that these were 2 games where India never really got into a position from where they could have won the game. Versus Pakistan, they were behind the 8 ball after those 2 wickets. When Pant and Kohli were batting, they tried to get back on track, but then Pant was dismissed at the wrong time. 150 was never going to be enough. And versus New Zealand, again, nothing worked. You look at the first 3 wickets, those of Kishan and Rahul. Both of them were on deliveries which on any other day could have been beyond the boundary. So, and then they got their tactics slightly wrong with both Rohit and Kohli batting versus the spinners in the middle overs. So yeah, it's I'd say more. It's been more about a lot of things not working at all, and you need that kind of a luck, especially when you're batting first, because as we've seen in Super 12, there have only been 4 results where the team batting first has won, and 2 of those games have featured Namibia and Scotland, and one of them has been Bangladesh not able to chase 140 and losing by 3 runs. and the fourth result was yesterday. And yesterday, with the amount of dew that was there between the Sri Lanka in the Sri Lanka England game, the amount of dew that was there in the second innings, I felt that Sri Lanka were in a very good chance. And it did look like at one point of time that Hasaranga and Shanaka might take Sri Lanka over the line, but then those wickets in the end helped England win. So yeah, it's been a tournament where you really need to win the toss and choose to bowl first. That's been the because the pitches really change in the second half.
I think that I think also that India have maybe got their squad wrong. I said to Norman earlier that I feel that with the World Cup in the UAE after the IPL, that I might have been leaning more on current form. Why is Kishan and Sky there? Why is Bhuvi there? Where's Avesh Khan? Where's Harshal Patel? Where's Gaikwad? Where's Padikal? I would have been leaning on guys that have been literally 2 weeks before on the same pitches against the same bowlers. Trent Bolt, Mumbai Indians, Paddy was, these guys are hitting them everywhere. I might have lent more on the form side of things. Sky Yadavish and Kishan, even someone like Rohit Sharma has not had for a few years, hasn't been whacking it around in the IPL,
So
and
Rohit
he's no
Sharma,
batsman. So
the last time Rohit had a strike rate of 140 plus in an IPL was back in 2014. The last time he averaged more than 30 in an IPL was back in 2015. So Rohit and Virat have been playing in the T20 side clearly on reputation. There is no doubt about it. And regarding what you said about the form is, I thought when they selected the team, it was before the second leg of the IPL began. So they wanted to back the proven and tested names. Unfortunately for them, it hasn't come along, and it can happen in this format because it is such a fickle format that you come to see that one thing leads to another thing, and it creates a domino effect. It's almost like if you lose two wickets up front in the first 3 overs batting first, it's next to impossible to make a comeback and win the game. And yeah, you have to understand and take that with the format, which is why I feel that there's been a lot of overreaction back home in India from the fans, which is understandable given how passionate the whole cricket fraternity here is in India.
But
Perhaps an
why is it an
extreme.
overreaction when they've lost two games against teams they were expected to beat?
Sorry.
I don't think it's. I think it's a fair reaction because they.
Overreaction in the sense, see, it's okay to be disappointed, it's okay to be hurt, but a lot of stuff that is being said is just completely irrational. They're calling for at least six or seven players to be dropped straight away, and that really doesn't help. What you also have to realize and see is that somewhere, uh, maybe the fatigue has also kept in and creeped in because they've been on the road, and for that I don't think anyone else but the BCCI is responsible, because ideally the second leg of IPL shouldn't have been happening at this point of time. It should have been done and dusted in April and May when it was scheduled. It was their failure to not do it. So yeah, I mean, at some point of time, you also have to realize that players have also have had it rough and tough, uh, and it's okay to criticize, but there's been some unreal abuse as well, which never makes for a good reading or a good sight.
Fair enough. Chris, what's your thoughts on what you said?
let's face it, can't 2020 is such a high variance, on the day. Like the way that I've seen social media, they're kicking off. It's like they've lost to Namibia and Scotland. They've lost to Pakistan, New Zealand. You have
Exactly.
to be slightly off form against these sides, and they'll annihilate you. It's the same for England. If England don't have a good day, South Africa could beat them. That's especially Pakistan and New Zealand. They've got ridiculously good, high quality cricketers. Like it's not like you've lost to two minnows, and it is quite obvious that India is slightly undercooked, or whether it's fatigue or whether it's just a bit out of form. And if you're out of form in these tournaments, you'll lose. And the toss probably hasn't helped. But what England
It's it's
probably
it's been
showed.
pretty much it's been pretty much the same with West Indies as well. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, no one before the tournament would have said that they would lose the two games and almost lose to Bangladesh also. So, like Chris said, it's not that they've lost to Namibia or Scotland. They've lost to a very good bowling performance from Shaheen Afridi, and he could have got anyone out on those balls. It's let's face it, it was a magical spell.
What I think when you say about batting first, and I'm not going to sing England's praises too much, but I think they showed yesterday how to go about it when you lose early wickets. Morgan came in, and let's face it, in world cricket, probably Morgan and Butler are two of the what comes across as the calmest heads. They don't look flustered at all, and it looked, I think from other games that sides have been 30 for 3 and thought we're just going to try and whack ourselves out and been 60 for 6 and that's game over. It looked yesterday that Morgan and Butler said, we're just going to take ones for 5 overs. We're not going to play any shots. We're just going to knock it round. We're going to set a base and then we're going to go from there. And I think it's probably a lesson to other sides how to bat, go hard in the first 6. If you lose some wickets, set a base, keep batsmen back. And then in the last 10 overs, I think England scored 120 in the last 10 yesterday. They're 45 of 10 overs yesterday. So that's probably the way to go, is that if you do lose early wickets, don't keep going, set a base, and then go at the end.
But for that, you also need someone like Joss Butler. A lot of teams don't
Yeah.
have someone like Joss Butler who can accelerate that way. I thought one thing that England could have done differently was probably promote Moeen Ali, maybe at number 3 or when Morgan came out to bat, because Moeen Ali again has had the experience of playing on those pitches and he did well in Sharjah also. One thing that I've been saying before the World T20 began is that uh, England might pay for playing Malan, uh, and not have. I felt that they could have probably replaced Malan with Root, given how Root also bowls, and he's a better player of spin bowling, which you need someone like that on these pitches. I would suppose that England should probably make one change in the final in the game versus South Africa, and that is to bring in someone like a Sam Billings and see what he can offer. If he's played instead of Milan, because with Moeen at 3, or if even if you get a right-handed dismissed early on, and if pacers are operating, you can send in someone like a Sam Billings and see what he can do. But at this point of time, I feel that Sam Billings is not going to get any game for a team that plays in the red and blue jersey, because it didn't happen in the IPL as well, and I don't think it will happen in this tournament too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Milan will stay. He's still the number 1 ranked batsman in the world, and I think he just offers that bit of stability at the top. But it showed in the second game. I think in the first game we wanted to knock the West Indies off. Bairstow came in. I think Morgan probably said yesterday, "I'm going to take this on the. I'm going to do this. I want some time in the middle, and I'm going to play captain's innings," which he did. So, yeah, I think the only change maybe will be Wood will come in for Mills if Mills pulls up stiff. So, but yeah, I think England will just go with their strongest side, the side that they want. I don't think they'll give anyone a game for the sake of it. They'll want to just keep winning, keep that same side, and all the way through.
South Africa have lost a wicket. They're 1 for 10, by the way, in their match, but they're chasing only a mere 84, so that should be a cakewalk for them.
By the way, if South Africa win today, then Australia by all means have to win their next 2 games to qualify, because they are far behind on the net run rate table as compared to South Africa, and South Africa are going to get a major boost today.
I really can't see Australia getting in there. I think South Africa's just got that slight edge. Amazingly, seeing Australia beat South Africa early in the tournament, it's probably going to sit well with South Africa. Australia are in a bit of trouble because I think they won't have it their own way against West Indies. I really don't. I think you said yourself, Chris, that the West Indies could have one game which they go a bit crazy. They beat Australia quite comprehensively in the series they had recently in West Indies. So I think Australia may not have forgotten that quite, and certainly the West Indies won't have forgotten that. And the West Indies will go into this with we'll do whatever we can to win attitude, because they've got nothing to lose. They're not going to make it. So I think we could see Australia in a bit of trouble. I think South Africa seem to be in a better position. I don't know how they've gotten through, to be honest with you, but they have. But look, when they play Pakistan, heaven help them. If Pakistan continue to play the way they're playing, that's the most important thing. Whether Pakistan can continue to be consistent, and they seem to be. They really do. I think that the Pakistan have got a different mindset going on there with Hayden and Villander in the helm of their batting and bowling. It's pretty good. I'm impressed.
I will reserve my judgment on Pakistan till the time they bat first, because I feel that even if they have to chase a 170 kind of a score, they might be in trouble, because if you look at the Afghanistan game, I thought Babar Azam could have done much better than what he did. 51 of 47, 48 balls is too slow. Even if you are chasing a 148 game, they almost lost it if it not been for Hassan Ali. So yeah, for me, I feel Pakistan's real test is going to lie when they bat first, and even if they do, it's against two teams who are, with all due respect to them, not of the greatest quality, in Scotland and Namibia. So Pakistan would hope that they don't have to bat first come the knockouts, because if they do, they might find themselves in a territory which they haven't really tested themselves in or prepared for as much as what they might have done while batting second.
Well, at the moment, England deserve to be favourites as far as I'm concerned. England have played well very much in every single match they've played. They've only got one match. I think there's just one more match to go, and then they've already qualified. So England are really deserving favourites at the moment. I thought Pakistan did, but now I'm pretty sure it's England. And by God,
Norman, I'm going to have to shoot if that's all right.
that's all right, Chris. I'll natter with Gil for a bit longer. But look, thanks, Chris, for coming on. And I'll talk with Gil now. That's the 17th episode. We'll talk more. So when are you available next time when England play?
Not going to be for the rest of this week, I wouldn't have thought. Maybe Friday, but we'll just have to see. If not, maybe next week.
Okay. All right. No worries.
Perfect. We'll see you soon. Cheers, Gil.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
Biram Iran's asking what did he miss? The likes of Muncie were there. What did they miss? Well, they missed a good conversation with Chris and now with Gil as well. It's great to have you guys on. We've had some good chances with the likes of Muncie and that the other day. So, all right, Gil, I want your honest appraisal. You've told me what you said. Look, Kohli's captaincy. It's his last hurrah as captain of the short form for T20. The legacy he's leaving is not a good one, is it? For
Yeah,
T20.
I mean,
not for Test cricket. He's gone brilliantly.
see, what people have also forgotten is that this is his first T20 World Cup as captain, but because the public memory is quite fickle, this will hurt his legacy in some way or the other, because uh, since 2014, if you look at the last two tournaments, India did reach the finals and the semi-finals, and they were on the back of Kohli itself, because he was the man of the tournament in both those tournaments. So unfortunately, see, MS Dhoni had someone like Virat Kohli to rely on when no one was scoring runs. Virat unfortunately has not had any of that player in the shorter format, and specifically in this tournament. I had a lot of hopes of KL Rahul, and he was looking good versus New Zealand. And you look at his dismissal, you really can't fault him also to go for that shot, because the ball was there to be hit. Like I said, these two games have been a combination of a little bit of uh, unfortune or misfortune, along with a few things not working out for India, and you really need that when you're batting first in T20s. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I get what you're trying to say, but it's really hard to blame Kohli for those two games, especially considering how he
I'm
scored.
not trying to assign blame. I'm not trying to assign blame.
Yeah,
I'm just disappointed for Kohli's sake because he's been a great
yeah,
player
same
in
here.
this form. He's the leading run
Same
getter.
here. True, true. In fact, if you look at the first game, he was the only one who scored those
Scored 50.
59 odd runs and took them to a respectable total. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and you could say that maybe Kohli's been quite unlucky when it comes to his captaincy, because he rarely wins the tosses, and even in the England series, uh, India lost the toss in they had lost the toss. India had lost the toss in the fourth test as well, and they had lost the toss in Lords as well. Both the test matches that they won. So it is slightly, yeah, you could say that Kohli, the captain, is slightly unlucky, and probably with a little more luck, his numbers and his legacy would have looked great.
Yeah. I do think he's been unlucky. I really do. I think he deserves. Well, he's still the leading T20 run getter, and he will continue to be that way. His ODI form has been magnificent for a decade. Test-wise, best most captain for India. But it's just something that doesn't sit well with even his IPL departure as captain from RCB. He would be a little bit disappointed about that as well, I would argue.
Yeah, see, this time they had won 9 games out of 14 and still finished third. It's very rare. Uh, back in last year, in the IPL, when Mumbai Indians had won 9 games, they had finished as at the top of the table. In 2019, Delhi, Chennai, and Mumbai, all of them had won 9 games and they were the top three. Delhi were unfortunate to be number three because of net run rate. So you imagine how unlucky someone like Virat Kohli has been, that despite his side winning 9 games out of 14, uh, they had to play eliminator in conditions which were so unfavorable to them. And there also, yeah, there he made a mistake because he won the toss and chose to bat first when he should have ideally, chosen to bowl first. I don't know what was the thinking, but overall, I'm just trying to explain how sometimes he hasn't had the rub of the green, which should have been there for him.
No. And the Indian public, the adoration for a Dhoni, the adoration for a Tendulkar, is it the same as the adoration for Kohli?
Uh, Amongst the older audiences, that is true. Not so sure if it is the case with the younger audiences, but I can understand why that is the case. And it's not purely related to cricket. It's also because Kohli is much more outspoken as opposed to what a Tendulkar or a Dhoni was. Tendulkar really fits into uh, that image which a lot of people have of an ideal Indian guy. Uh, but Kohli is not that. Kohli is obviously the one who's doing a lot of talking. He doesn't hold back from sledging. He has his tattoos and everything. So that amongst the older audiences is something which isn't appreciated. But I suppose amongst the newer audiences, he's appreciated. But yeah, I think him not being appreciated enough is not so much to do that with cricket, but just with his overall image.
Okay. Now, Munshi said, Matt, and I think this is a great question. Would India have won the series in Australia if Kohli had been captain instead of Rahane for that last match or two?
Yeah, see,
I think
because
so.
they would have because they did it under Kohli back in 2018 only. And they've won the series now also. If not won, they've been leading the series against England 2-1 under Kohli itself. I suppose it would have happened if Kohli had been the captain and not Rahane, because see, you have to realize that the first Test match, the Gabba Test match, was an aberration, and all India 11 of all time would probably have not won that game. Chasing 328 on day 5 in Gabba is a miracle, and it's not to do with captaincy at all. As far as Sydney is concerned, I don't think that the draw had anything to do with Ajinkya Rahane because he didn't really contribute. And again, if you look back at the Melbourne win, that is where Ajinkya Rahane, the batter, stood up and scored those runs. In terms of captaincy, I don't think there was anything much different. Anyway, what you have to realize is that uh, there were so many new players coming in, and players getting injured, that there wasn't a room for a strategy as such. And if you looked at Rahane and Shastri talk about the series win after it happened, they had mentioned how they had discussed a few strategies like promoting Pant to number 5 while Kohli was there. So I think even if Kohli would have been the captain, probably India would have won more comfortably, because there is no substitute for Kohli the batsman in Test matches anyway for the Indian team.
Oh, no, that's well said, Gil. I totally agree with you. I think Kohli's presence was still there anyway. After the 18 legacy, even the early stage of the tournament, he was on the phone to the guys. He may not have been there physically, but he wasn't giving up on the team. I think he laid the foundation for that no fear policy from way back. You're right. And they would have done it with him there as probably even more so. So he has been a great Test captain. He's been a fantastic ODI and ODI captain. His T20 career has been great in terms of his batting performance. Maybe he hasn't finished it off with an IPL and his domestic levels, and certainly not for the country in ICC orders. But that's still a great record, still a fantastic record. Forgetting the Tendulkar didn't win that many tournaments as captain. Certainly not. I mean, Dhoni was certainly one that is legendary. We know. So no, I'm very proud of the way that
Also,
Kohli
also
played.
with also with Dhoni, people forget that after the 2007 World T20, in 2009, in 2010, and in 2012, India did not reach the semi-finals. There were three tournaments where India did not reach the semi-finals under MS Dhoni. And in 2014 and 26 they did. 2016 they did because of Kohli the batsman. People
It's
forget
good.
that under MS Dhoni, India became the first. India lost an ODI series to Bangladesh for the very first time. India lost an ODI series to South Africa at home for I don't know, after 2 decades maybe. They lost an ODI series to Pakistan at home, which had not happened uh, I can't remember any captain who had lost. Maybe Saurav Ganguly did. And India had lost two bilateral series to New Zealand under MS Dhoni in New Zealand. Under Virat Kohli, they won those series. India lost two. No, India lost two ODI series to South Africa in South Africa under MS Dhoni. If you look at the bilateral records for Virat Kohli, they are second to none. Under Virat Kohli, India beat South Africa 5-1 in an ODI series back in 2018. So sometimes, because the memories of audiences are so fickle that they tend to remember only the memorable moments and the trophies, but not what has happened before and after that. But if you do a
I
close scrutiny,
totally agree. I totally agree. I think they've really picked on Kohli more than any other player of the last 10, 15, 20 years. They really picked on him. And it's really sad because maybe they've got, Tendulkar and the likes of Dhoni there, and they actually want Kohli to go past them. Maybe they want him to keep going up, up, and up, and they're expecting way too much from him.
it's also because I'll tell you why. It's also because, like I said, Kohli is someone who doesn't hold back from speaking on issues which are non-cricket also, right? So what happened with Mohammad Shami? What Kohli said in that press conference, not many Indian cricketers or Indian captains would have done that, right? So that also doesn't help in him getting that image. But amongst the younger audiences, that has really, really helped his image, for doing the right thing and for standing up for what is right. Like, abusing someone on the basis of their identity is not cool, and that is all what he has said. But it has not gone down well with a few people, and that again, allows them, or makes them make these unreal agendas or criticism, which has basically no cricketing sense.
No, well said. As always, Gil, you've been fantastic. So South Africa have lost 2 wickets for 29. They should get 84, but they may be stumbling a bit there. They're going to win. Clearly, they're going to win. Oh, I don't want South Africa to make, Gil, I don't want them to make the semi-finals. It annoys me. I don't think they're good enough. I really don't. I mean, their bowling side is, but no, I'm very
No,
frustrated
I
with
think
South Africa.
I think in Rassi van der Dusen, Quinton de Kock, Miller, and Adian Markram, they have four very capable batsmen, and they batsmen are good enough to take down any pace bowling. And their bowling's anyway good enough with Nokia, Rabada, Shamsi, Maharaj, and even Dwayne Melder is doing decently. I wouldn't actually mind South Africa going all the way, and I'll explain why. In this past decade, almost every cricketing nation has won something. Australia won the 2015 World Cup. India won the 2011 World Cup and the 2013 Champions Trophy. Pakistan won the 2017 Champions Trophy. Sri Lanka won the 2014 World Cup. England won the
West Indies.
2019 World Cup. West Indies have won two T20 World Cups in 2012 and 2016. New Zealand won the World Test Championship. It's only South Africa that hasn't managed to win anything. So I would genuinely want South Africa to go all the way and win if it is possible.
Are you telling me you've got a sympathy vote for South Africa?
It's more of a seeing some equality and ensuring that cricket stays relevant in countries which are struggling. Because imagine this: if South Africa win, with the kind of turmoil their cricket has been, and with the kind of uh, divisiveness that is there in their society, this could be one common cause where all of them can get behind and celebrate, and it can only mean good things for world cricket overall. So I wouldn't mind that.
Oh no, I don't deny that. But then again, imagine we're imagining South Africa winning, which would be great. But can you, as I said earlier, can you imagine Afghanistan winning? The level of suffering they've gone through as a country, new leadership which no one agrees with, they have
That
had troubled times as well.
that
But they
that
can
would be
survive.
even better. That that would be even better. That would be even better. But I just don't see that. For them, if they qualify for the semis, would be huge. I'd want them to reach the semis, but I don't see that happening because I don't think that they have the quality to beat India and New Zealand. I don't think Afghanistan have the quality to beat India and New Zealand.
South Africa are making medalists. They're 3 for 33. They're not exactly cruising past the score 84. They're not endearing anyone with this. Their batting performance 3 for 33 against Bangladesh is pretty ordinary.
I to reach the target. Are they trying to reach the target quickly or they are batting normally?
Well, it's 6 overs 33. It's not exactly quick in the true sense of the word.
No, but maybe the dismissals can tell you something. If those dismissals are of good bowling or are they a result of bad batting?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do see a point. One was LBW, Tuscan Ahmed. One was bold. Quinton Hott was bold. Mark was called by name. I think so we're looking at fairly whether just bad technique, you would imagine, let alone big pinning shots. I would like to see too, but it doesn't look good. Bavuma, who was opening before, is now at third drop. He's just come in. Tuscan Ahmed, I rate him as a bowler from Bangladesh. He hasn't been given much of a Guernsey over the last few years, which is sad.
Well, he's
All
been
right.
around for 6 years now. He's been around for
Yeah.
6 years now.
Yeah. So Quinton de Gox made a difference to the side, that's for sure. Him being back in the side would have made them buoyant. Okay, so you're saying South Africa will make the semi?
Yeah, I'd want them to. I'd want them to win. I am not saying that they will, and I'm saying I want them to win.
I don't mind if Australia lose because they'll come back early from the World Cup and they'll get ready for the test. That's what the other way I look at it.
See, the other thing is, I still think that structurally Australia are not doing T20 cricket right. Uh, I think if they do reach the semis, it will paper over a lot of structural deficiencies that are there in the Australia T20 setup. So for the betterment of Australia T20 cricket, I think it is best if they don't qualify for the semifinals.
Look, Australia, they've got so many reasons why they should be doing well. They've got players all throughout the IPL. They play well in those tournaments. They've got the capability. They're just not gelling as a team. And it comes down to, I'm afraid to say, the coach. Justin Langer has lost the room some time ago. He hasn't regained it properly. Both Warner and Smith are still out on their own. He's taken a few other players. When they've got a new player in there, they've got a young South African player. Did you see him? Australia have. Let me look at what's his name. I've forgotten his name. Anyway, it'll come to me. All right, your take. So you're expecting Namibia to be beaten by Afghanistan pretty I'm sorry, by Pakistan pretty
Pakistan.
comprehensively. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to see is Pakistan batting first and see how they approach it.
Maybe they should experiment to do that. I agree. They should perhaps test themselves while they've got the opportunity to do so. Okay, let me look at the fixtures and results. So yeah, they're it's a pretty obvious victory that we expect from that. In terms of fixtures for the future, we've got New Zealand versus Scotland. That's a pretty convincing New Zealand win. Then Afghanistan versus India, which will be very intriguing. Then Australia Bangladesh. That's a very significant match. Sri Lanka West Indies won't make any difference. I have to agree. I think South Africa are in the box seat to make the semis with England, and certainly Pakistan with probably the inclusion there of New Zealand.
Yeah, looks like it. Looks like it. Maybe if you see, if you want Afghanistan to qualify, then you have to hope that they beat India tomorrow. And yeah, if that really happens, then it would be something very, 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 very shocking for an Indian cricket fan, because
Of course.
it would be. I actually don't have words to explain what the reaction would be if they lose to Afghanistan. I mean, yeah,
Oh God.
people are going to go mad over here.
See, I had this fairy tale that India would play Pakistan in the final. I really did, and that looks forlorn now, which is sad. Because I think India truly could have beaten England, but they're
Yeah,
not going to get the opportunity.
they could
They
have.
could have.
They could.
They certainly could have, but they haven't got through to that position to be able to have the chance to do that. And they look like the chances are gone now. They're going to rely heavily on mistakes by other sides, and they can't really get through that. That's failure complete. Failure
Yeah.
complete. So they're saying that Bangladesh, they're calling it Bangladesh are fighting back 3 for 34. I guess there's an element of that going on, but God, if South Africa don't get this, they don't deserve to be in the semi-finals. But look at this team. South Africa are going to make a semi-final
No,
based on this
they
victory.
will not. They will not make it if Australia win against both Sri Lanka and West Indies, and if South Africa lose. So
Based
Australia
on
losing one of the games. If Australia win both and South Africa don't beat England, then they will not. Then Australia will make it.
you're right. But Australia, sorry, so England have to beat South Africa very comprehensively, though, just to make sure that run rate doesn't come into play.
That is if
Because
if if Australia if Australia lose a game, but if Australia win both and South Africa don't win their next game, then the margin will not matter.
hang on. Oh, so you're saying, okay, so Australia's got to beat West Indies and Bangladesh, okay? And South Africa playing, obviously, currently now against Bangladesh and have one more game against. Who have they got last? They've got West Indies, have they? They've got to play West Indies.
Yeah.
So really, both South Africa and Australia are both playing West Indies and Bangladesh. Both of them are.
Yeah.
Oh, no, hang on. That's not right. England are playing South Africa, so that's where the mistake is. That's the crucial thing. England haven't played South Africa yet, and that's the crucial one.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. So,
Yeah. As long as
if,
Australia win their last two matches, they're
if
through, is
Australia,
what you're saying.
yeah, provided South Africa lose to England, but if South Africa win, then South Africa will go through because they have a better net run rate.
Yeah, if they win that match against England, and that's the big one. Will England allow South Africa to beat them? I doubt it. So that's out of the question. Very exciting.
Depends.
All right.
If
I was going to say,
yeah,
Munchie's been talking about Labuschagne was one of the names I missed before. Pakistan batting first against Namibia won't be a real challenge, that's for sure. Look, to me, the tournament's still yet to reach its crescendo. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be exciting either way. Hopefully, I'll go there next week. And thanks again, Gil. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you coming on. Your face is frozen. I could say anything to Gil right now because he can't reply to me, which is fun. All right, guys, we might look at a wrap up there. I think this was a great discussion with the Eyes on Cricket, in particular with an Aussie and a POM that talk all things cricket with obviously Chris Vernon. We had interactions with Munchie, with Barnett Said Boy online. We had Prabhajan, we had a number of blokes on there. Then we brought Baran Marani was there as well. We brought Gil on just then. He had some great points to say about India, which is very relevant. And overall, this has been a fantastic series. So very happy with the way things are going, guys. I think that we've done very, very well. I just want to see what the score is there. We've got 84 all out for Bangladesh. South Africa 3 for 41. just not sure whether you want to continue, guys. We're probably going to leave it at that today. Had a great time. I'll be posting on how we go. I think Gil's come back. Everything all right?
Yeah, I got cut off because I got a call in between,
Why
so
have
I
you got
got
your
cut
mask
off.
on?
Anyway, I'm now
Why you?
because uh, because in India you need to wear a mask in a car. It's the rule.
Even if
It's a rule.
no one's in the car with you?
And if you don't do that and the cops catch you, they fine you.
Wow. Even if you got no one in the car?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you going to give it to if there's no one else in the car?
That
All right.
well, I really don't know how to justify this, but it is so you still have to follow the rule of the land.
No, I
That is
understand.
what
I
it is.
understand. You can't.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
I was just about to yeah, I was just about to leave and I got a call, so I
Okay.
just thought that I'll come back and a bit goodbye. I'll try and
All
join
right.
after the game today, if possible. But yeah,
Okay.
these days my schedule has been quite hectic, which is why I've not been able to join. In between.
It's a pleasure to have you anytime, Gil. Anytime. You're a lovely person to have on. You're knowledgeable, and you're very matter of fact. I love the way you do it. It's very well done. And your show, again, a plug for your show. Tell us about your
So I haven't
show.
done any show as of now. I haven't recorded anything in a very long time. I just released an episode that I recorded with Freddie Wild, who works with Rajasthan Royals in a capacity of a consultant. And I released it this week. I have 3 4 more shows which I had recorded in between. I'll get the time and edit them and then post them whenever I get the time.
But despite the fact that you're not posting a lot in the last few days, it's still worth people going to and watching what you've done. There's some brilliant episodes there. Beautifully produced, I must say. Very good. So everyone, I'll add the link again to
Thank
this
you,
show.
Norman.
We'll get people to watch. All right, Gil. Thank you very, very much. Really appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Talk to you later. I'll send you the links. All right, it's good to have Gil there. It's always good. Now, I'm just waiting to see what the story is here. South Africa are 3 for 42, and then they need to double that, and they've got the score. So looks like South Africa's win. But it is right. If Australia win the last 2 matches and South Africa win theirs, but they'll be on the same points, but it won't necessarily mean that they'll be through. It'll be the net run rate, which at the moment still seems to be in the favour of Australia. So that's where we sit. All right. I'm just going to get a drink, guys. Back in a sec. Just hang on a sec. Keep talking, eh? Just need to get a drink. Very, very hot here. Well, it's kind of hot in Australia. Not overly hot. Polish off some apple juice. Apple juice keeps me going. But yeah. It's just apple juice, guys. Aren't we lucky to have Chris Vernon? If any buts were maybes. Okay, I'm not sure whose buts are you referring to, Munchie? I'm not sure. But look, it's a frustrating match to watch. South Africa just limp over the line. Bangladesh have been atrocious. The batting's been particularly bad. South Africa now 3 for 50 with 35 off 67 balls. They look like they're going to win that pretty easily. Then Pakistan versus Namibia, depending on who bats first, that should be an absolute slaughter. For Pakistan should actually slaughter them, absolutely murder them, you would imagine. Even though Namibia are pretty commendable, it's not good enough. All right, guys. We've done our job tonight. in between with the Aussie A POM. Had Gil on there for a bit of any perspective. It's been fantastic to have you guys on. Really, really enjoy everything. That was episode 17. So we've done 17 of those. It's quite a few episodes over the previous. You can go back and look at the history of all the 17 episodes. And Richard Vernon send a link. Richard Vernon wants me to send a link. Oh, Richard wants to join. Okay. I think he's gonna probably gloat about how his team's going. Let me look here. Where's the link? Join a guest. Copy. Richard probably thinks I've sent it to you. They've got it, Richard. So Richard's going to join. Was Munchie want to join? I keep putting Munchie into it. It's actually Marcus Lawrence. All right, so we go from Mr. Gill, the Sublime, to Reg the Ridiculous. Yes, it's a bit like that. I've just sent you a link to Munchie. Come on again. You can gloat about how good you think England are. Barnstead boys joined.
Hey.
Oh, so you've joined when you're. So Marcus, Mr. Munchie's just said. So we go from Mr. Gill to the Sublime to Reg the Ridiculous. That's a bit nasty.
He's probably very, very accurate. I was going to say, Norman, I like listening to Gill. I think he adds a modicum of calm to some excitable noise that sometimes comes from your viewers. I think Gill talks a lot of common sense.
Oh, he's a brilliant guy. He's got a very polished approach to everything. Lovely man as well. Now,
yeah, absolutely.
Did you find out from Chris how much he actually paid for those Liverpool tickets?
I hate to think. I mean, I talk about a waste of money going and watching Liverpool play football, for God's sake. Yeah. It's a 5-hour drive, would be,
I reckon £100 is more like 300.
Sorry about that.
I think that £100 is more like £300 actually.
Yeah, and it's not only that; it's a 5-hour drive each way and a hotel. So, you know.
These kids will be kids.
Yeah.
Tim Milton Davies has said, cancel the Ashes, just play more white ball games for the next decade. Tim, what are you talking about?
He talks a lot of complete rubbish. Tim does, doesn't he? He's come on with rubbish comments before. I mean, you've lost Gil and Chris now. You're gonna get people saying what they think on the show now, aren't you, Norman? Too much of the nice boy stuff. You know, none of this Munchie coming on and being all diplomatic. I mean, come off it, Tim. The Ashes is what we live for in cricket, England and Australia. I mean, I love the white ball.
England live for it. Australia don't live for it. England's just beat you. That's all.
Yeah.
Who won the last series?
Sorry, say again.
Who won the last series?
I think it was a 2-2 draw, wasn't it?
No, well, we retained it then.
Just only because Archer knocked out Steve Smith and bloody Labuschagne came in and won you the matches, didn't he? Ridiculous. Who would have thought that?
Haven't got Archer anymore. He's got that elbow problem.
No, it's a shame. It's a shame, but
you have got Ben Stokes back. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think we spoke about the other day, and Chris was saying earlier, wasn't it? It'll balance. It helps balance the side, which means that we can play a spinner, which really does help matters a lot. The reason I want to come on, Norman, is that bear with me. Sorry, my phone keeps flashing messages at me. I watched the game last night, and a Sri Lankan side that are not brilliant really could have won that game against England, and it all came down to the dew. I mean, this shouldn't be happening in a world tournament, and I'm not carping because England are winning. Don't get me wrong, I'm not carping. But I can see that the semi-finals and the final could be ruined as a spectacle by this due factor because all three, or both semis and the final, are both going to be all night games apparently. Now it's not as bad in Dubai and Abu Dhabi as it is in Sharjah, but the last night you could see that England actually had to have the ball changed, and they had to change the towel. I don't know if you were watching it. They had to bring on a towel, and it was apparently absolutely saturated. It not just a little bit. It was, and this is leveling up a game of cricket ridiculously for the side who are batting second.
You can see the players when they lose the toss. I've watched a few replays. They actually slump. They actually go, "Oh, we're going to lose this."
Yeah,
they actually
it hasn't affected every game. There's a couple of games where the dew hasn't come down, and a couple where the game's been done and dusted before the dew can make any real difference. But if you've got two great sides, and it might be Australia versus Pakistan, which is a fairly even contest, say, or England, New Zealand, whatever it might be, where these are four sides playing at the at top level, this could decide the game before it's even started almost, and that would be a great shame. And I think
certainly psychologically it can change the game. It can change the game.
I think the ICC have let themselves down here. You just want to see an even contest between the two best sides, where the toss isn't basically affecting massively the outcome of the game. You just want to see a great game of cricket, and I've got a funny feeling we could be talking in a week and a half's time and saying, "Crikey, all right, the final, England scored 135 and Pakistan knocked it off for 3 in 16 overs. That wasn't much of a game. What happens?" And you're thinking, well, we know what happened. The dew came down and ruined it. And that would be a real shame.
But see, to me, there's that disappointment. Yes, the toss meaning dictating who wins and loses. But there's also, I'm disappointed with some of the sides that I really thought were going to handle this situation as well. Namely, India for one.
Yeah.
And West Indies is another.
Not in the UAE, Norman. The West Indies never perform well out in the subcontinent like that. It's just
But they perform well in T20 tournaments. Well, wait a minute. I mean, they remember that you don't forget the game where good old Carlos Braithwaite came in and did what he did.
But that was in the West Indies. That was in the West Indies. It wasn't in Abu Dhabi or Sharjah, was it?
No, I get that. But they've done well in other countries. They've done well in Australia. They've done well. Look, I'm more concerned that I just wanted to see all teams peak during a World Cup. That's what I'm getting at. And you cannot say that India have peaked. India have been nowhere near as good as they should be. They should never have been beaten by Pakistan and New Zealand. I'm sorry. Really, the expectation was for India to win their group well and truly. Okay, that was what we expected. And we haven't seen the India that we know.
But India playing Pakistan is a game where you can take a bit of the form book out. It transcends cricket in a way. There's a rivalry, a massive rivalry. They hardly play anymore. The toss, I don't think it was that important in that game. I don't think the dew was a massive factor in that game. It was just that Pakistan played really well, and they're entitled to play really well, aren't they? And funny enough, against New Zealand, New Zealand have got a little bit of the hoodoos on India at the moment, haven't they? They beat them in the world semi-final, in the 50-over world semi-final. They beat them in the championship last year. So they've got a little bit of, you know what it's like when you play cricket, Norman, you can have the boogie sides a little bit, the sides you don't do very well against. For me, that was every side I ever played against, funnily enough. But you understand where I'm coming from.
No, I do. But look, I just what I'm trying to get at is that
you want to see all the sides playing at their best.
But India should have been in that four. Okay, I don't believe South Africa should be anywhere near the top four. They are. Look at the way they're playing today. Okay, they're beating Bangladesh, yes, but they're doing it in a very clumsy, haphazard way, and I just don't know whether we're And then Australia beat them. That game was awful to watch. Australia played poorly. South Africa played even more poorly. There was no way that they could even be considered after that first match. I just don't think South Africa deserved to be there. I thought that maybe Australia, maybe, but I still don't think they deserve to be there either. It's almost like England are going through with a hollow group. I mean, Sri Lanka could have played better. There's just too many teams are not performing well at the right time.
I think if England have been chasing 86 against Bangladesh here today, and let's face it, the Jew's not a factor. This is a day game, so that's not coming into it at all. I cannot believe that England wouldn't have gone for a bigger win for run rate when it's going to be so important potentially for South Africa to up their net run rate. I know they're going to win it about 14 overs, aren't they, give or take?
Yeah.
But if they could have won it in 10, and that's only 8 and over, they've only had to go 8 and over to do that.
England would have, if England had Bangladesh out for 84, they would have done it in 8.
Well, they would. I think they would have tried. I think they would have tried. They might have, if they'd lost a few early wickets, they would have had to pull it back. But I think they would have tried. Whereas I've been watching the game here, really, South Africa haven't really played a shot in anger, Norman. And no. I know their run rate is already superior to Australia's, which is helping them. And they'll increase it again here. Let's face it, it's going to be a nice boost. But they could have put themselves out of sight in the net run rate stakes, which would have which mean the Aussies would have had to have won both games. Whereas if South Africa, they still might do it on the net run rate, but they could afford to slip up. And they've got a tough game on Saturday against England, South Africa. They'll know that. I do still think the Aussies are going to win both their games, and I do think the West Indies could have a game in them, like Chris said. I think that's not going to be easy for Australia. Pride will kick in with the West Indies a little bit, and they've got 4 or 5 bats on the West Indies who any one of them could have a day out, as they say. And if that happens, yeah, you don't want to be bowling against them. If suddenly Pooran or Pollard or Russell or Gale suddenly just hit a little bit of a day out. I think Australia will get through though, Norman. There you go. There's a prediction. I think they will. I think they've got enough in their bowling to get them through. I'm not a fan of the batting so much, and I know you're not, but I think their bowling attack could get them through. They've got to play. Is it Sri Lanka and is it Bangladesh to play for Australia? Is that right? Oh, I got that wrong.
For Australia, they need to play Bangladesh.
So West Indies. They've got to play. Sorry, West Indies and
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Okay. I yeah. If they slip up one of them, I think their net run rate will put them out. So I think Australia probably, with this result today, I think South Africa probably just done enough on the net run rate that if Australia don't win both, then South Africa will go through on net run rate. Is that making sense?
Okay, but really, before the tournament started, I had Sri Lanka and West Indies fighting off that second spot. That's what I had. So that's why I'm a bit shocked at the way that this has turned out. Anyway.
Yeah.
But in terms of the other group, again, I'm frustrated with the way India's played. I'm excited the way Afghanistan have come through. They've done very, very well. They've got 2 of the best spinners on deck, Mujib and Rashid Khan. They're right up there.
Yeah, they're good. They could have a major say still. India aren't out yet. I think they've got a problem, a massive problem, but they're not out yet. Let's not write sides off quite. And Afghanistan could create an issue. But you've got to understand, if Afghanistan do beat New Zealand or whatever, then they're in the box seat to go through themselves, aren't they?
Of course.
It's not just that if they win and India comes sailing through,
no.
It means Afghanistan are in a great position to get through.
Well, we're looking at the table at the moment.
Their net run rate's great.
India's down there with Scotland, who not won a match. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. When I look at that table, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Yeah. Who would ever have thought India would be second from the bottom there, or equal bottom?
I think India play Afghanistan tomorrow, don't they, Norman? Is that right?
Sorry?
Is it tomorrow that India play Afghanistan? It's either tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
I mean, that is a absolute must win for India, and if they can win it big, that will dent the Afghanistanis net run rate as well. Bear in mind, India have got to play Namibia and Scotland, so they could really bolster their net run rate. And it could still come down to that. It could. Afghanistan are playing well, aren't they?
Especially Rashid Khan. My God, no wonder he's number one in the world. No wonder he's number one in the world. He really deserves it. And Mujib's feeding off his success. They're teaming up very nicely. The Afghani batsmen, look, they didn't look great, but they were doing their job. Those matches, their opener, what's his name? He's the keeper. I can't forget his name. Norman too.
Yeah. I don't like these world rankings, Norman, at the moment. It's absolute nonsense. They just had the stats come out. I was watching one of these Bangladeshi bowlers is rated number 9 in the world, whereas Archer, Bumrah, and another great bowler there, and Shaheen Afridi aren't in the top 20 or something stupid. It's ridiculously stupid. The world ratings. No one can tell me. Before the game yesterday, Josh Butler was rated 17 in the world and Jason Roy 19 in the world as batters. I'm sorry.
It must be a pre-tournament thing. Must be a pre-tournament.
I just think you've got to take them all with a pinch of salt. No one can tell me that Josh Butler isn't in the top 10. You can't tell me that he's not in the top 10 of batsmen in world cricket at 2020 because he's.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
He batted well yesterday.
All right, so you and I are expecting, firstly, India will win their match.
I think India will win all 3.
Yeah,
India will win all 3, but I've got I hate to say it to people watching that I think that New Zealand will be very professional as well. And I think New Zealand, they could end up with 4 wins, New Zealand. So they can probably afford to slip up and still do it on the net run rate over India, I think. It depends. India need a couple of big results.
India gone.
No, well,
the ifs and buts. We can't talk about ifs and buts. The reality has to set in here. They're up against it, and they need a minor miracle for them to get through.
Yeah, New Zealand are so professional, Norman, aren't they? Everything they do is impressive, isn't it? You look at
well, when they get a team out cheaply, they go for the juggler and keep going at the same batting rate, treating it like a high scoring match, which is good.
Yeah, and with Williamson there at the helm, he's a fantastic leader, isn't he? Right. He doesn't make many mistakes. By the way, Norman, Owen Morgan's captaincy yesterday, when they went a bowler down, was something brilliant. I know people don't always understand how good a captain can be in cricket. It's vital. And Morgan, at the moment, is at the height of his powers as a captain. He really, really is. He took KKR through from basically nowhere to the finals, didn't he? And yesterday, everywhere they hit a ball, the Sri Lankans, he had a fielder there. And that's not just luck. That's not just luck. That's, he's very good. Very, very good. Morgan.
Munchie's commenting.
Oh, well, Munchie knows nothing about nothing, so.
No, I asked Munchie to come on, but he said he was busy for a phone call. He's still not busy to put the occasional comment. All right, we've gone 2 hours almost here. Well, I think we might call it quits. Still got another hour before the match comes.
You've had a star-studded show with Chris on, Norman, talking.
Oh, yes, Chris.
Complete nonsense.
Chris and Gil and yourself, all very good.
Got gradually older. Your guests have got gradually older, Norman. And uglier. And uglier.
Look, at least we felt we uncovered that he paid too much for his ticket. We uncovered he paid too much for his ticket. And how's his form saying he won't tell you? He did tell you.
What? How much he paid?
Well, he said £100, but it's going to be £300.
I don't believe that. He's having to get his tyres done now before he drives up there. It's miles. It's not. We live a long way away from Liverpool. It's a long.
How far?
5 hours in the car.
Well, he's a young boy. He can do
it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to come on and say hi. And I just want to.
Anytime.
I just wanted to say.
We're going to start talking Ashes more and more. It's coming closer and closer. It's November the 2nd. Ashes start December 8th.
Yeah, well, hopefully Mitchell Starc could go down with an injury. and Steve Smith will get something in his eye just to put him out for a couple of months. Just nothing bad. I don't want to wish bad stuff on any of your guys, because I don't think it's going to be the 7-0 you predicted earlier, because I saw you put a thing up about 7-0. I think.
Oh, come on! Look, that's exaggeration. That's Adam Hollyoak. Like he doesn't. He's got cotton wool needed in his ears. It's hardly my problem.
I do think there's a pink ball test. Is there a pink ball test? I think there is, isn't there, in Adelaide?
Yeah.
That could be a game England can target. Look, if we can get out of the Gabba without losing, we have a semblance.
There's no certainty there's still no certainty whether it's being played in the Gabba. There's every chance it could go to Sydney.
Yeah, but if because Perth is unlikely, and we always get stuffed at Perth, and because that's unlikely, and if we can get away from the Gabba, then we in recent history we've had better results in Melbourne and Sydney. I think that would be fair to say. In recent times, they have been happier hunting grounds for England, and so not playing Perth is good for us. And a pink ball test, well, anything can happen. We've got Broad and Robinson, who could have rather a good. Sorry, Anderson and Robinson. I mean, they could go rather well in a pink ball test. I have a feeling. So anything can happen in a pink ball test. So we'll see. We'll talk about it more.
Much anticipated. Much anticipated. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, Norman. You take care.
All right. You take care. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to finish up now, guys. I think we've gone. Let's see what the score is there in the Pakistan. Let's throw the the South Africa versus match against Bangladesh. South Africa now 4 for 80 in 13 overs. They only need 4 runs to compile at least against Bangladesh. Looks like they're going to do it and do it easily. Let's have a look. Anyway, all right. So Bangladesh look like they've been defeated by South Africa. Bangladesh all out for 84, and South Africa currently 4 for 8. I'll get it right. Bangladesh 84 all out. South Africa are currently 4 for 80. So there's some 5 runs from a victory, which they're going to do with 7 overs to spare. I think they're going to get it. So, okay. Tim Wilton Davies, I thought Mark Morgan got it wrong. Bowling works with 3 tests when Mills went down. It looks it's left Moeen Ali looking for the nicely though. Yeah, fair enough. What's the solution? Play more works probably. All right, Munchie. Older and more senile, yes, that's what you are. And maybe a few other counterparts. I'm not exactly much better myself. So, guys, always don't forget to view, like, and share. Subscribe. Pass it on and make sure people physically subscribe. Then obviously hit the notification button and send it off back to us, and we can then get it processed for future multi-bets that we're looking at putting through. Australia will definitely be up against things. It's a very strong Sri Lankan outfit. All right, guys. We'll talk again either later today or tomorrow. All the best. Norman Kosik from Eyes on Cricket.